right now, we are joined by World News Tonight anchor David Muir, who arrived here yesterday to report on the fire in the Pacific Palisades. Tell us a little bit about what you've experienced.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I always hate when I come to town and it's bad news. You know,
Yeah.
I love Southern California. And by the way, the entire team here at KABC, I know you guys have been on around the clock. You've done extraordinary work. You don't need me to tell you that, but I've been watching you as much as I can. Well, we've covered so many wildfires, and you all have too, and you live here and you know this, but it's very striking when you're out there in the field on this one. It's very different. You travel from community to community, from neighborhood to neighborhood, and homes are gone in neighborhood after neighborhood, you know, and I think in previous wildfires, you'll have sort of a hot spot that then grows and you have loss, and it's heartbreaking in a certain area. Here, as you drive around the Pacific Palisades, which we're now seeing these extraordinary aerial images that just basically look like it's been wiped out, and in many ways it has. I think we're talking about thousands and thousands of structures. I know they haven't given an official toll there yet. But when you drive down the Pacific Coast Highway, and I was in the Palisades villages as you call it, the little town square there, it's completely gone. We did the broadcast from there last night, and I knew as we were standing there that typically people would be having dinner, going shopping, and it looks like, I hate to say this, but it looks like an awful movie set, like as though many of these neighborhoods have been bombed. Like there's been an aerial assault. And so my heart goes out to everybody out there. I know what's been remarkable about this, the heroism of the firefighters and the first responders, when you think about how little life has been lost. I mean, any life is too many lives to lose. But when you look at this kind of devastation, and the death toll is where it is, that's extraordinary work on the first responders and the people of Southern California who know this, they've lived this, they heed the warnings. And this time it was just very, very true what was coming.
And I understand, David, you at one point caught in the evacuation warnings, had to maybe leave your hotel?
Yeah, you know, last night after we did World News Tonight, we were going to stay in Hollywood. Then the Sunset Fire broke out. And what a difference just 24 hours makes when you can get up into the air and drop water, right? I know the winds made it almost impossible the day before to get up at all. And so many of these fires were then unleashed and allowed to go because you just couldn't put people's lives at risk by putting them up in the air. Last night, just the difference of 24 hours, being able to get up of it and drop water on it and try to knock it down. We didn't even actually get to the hotel. We pulled into the parking lot and people were running from the hotel, and you could just see it in their faces, and there was a traffic jam already going in all directions. And we ended up staying in Santa Monica last night. Obviously, we're remembering 39th President Carter today, too, so we actually anchored from here in the building with you all for that, and now we'll go back out in the field and survey what we're seeing. And we plan to go to the Palisades to see what you're all seeing right now in these aerials, but also some of the other fires and regions that have been really hit hard here.
And David, the world is watching Los Angeles right now. Can you just speak to the resiliency that you've seen and witnessed?
Well, I think it's extraordinary. The people have lost their entire homes, where they've raised their children, where they've raised their grandchildren, all of their belongings, their photographs, their mementos. I saw the cars in the Pacific Palisades that have been left in the road, people with a fire on top of them, essentially, and they got out of the cars and left. The cars are now melted metal right on the road. They use the bulldozers to get them out of the way. And so when you see again how many people actually did survive this, who are saying we will rebuild, who are saying, you know, I've got my family and my grandchildren, and I checked on my neighbor next door and the person across the street. Those are the stories that always sit with me, and we're only a day and a half into this, and how many stories have we heard about people who checked on the person across the street, and because of that, they were helped too. I think that's going to be, you know, sadly, one of the great lasting legacies of this horrific story that we're all living through right here in Southern California right now is just how giving the people of Southern California are. You know, they did race to safety, but they didn't do it without checking on the neighbor first. And I think that speaks volumes.
How long are you expected to be here?
You know, I don't know. We're going to do the broadcast tonight, so I think we're moving right now our location to some of the areas that now have been revealed of just how widespread the damage was. I mean, just given the smoke, we really didn't have a clear, and you all have been on the air 24/7, a real clear eye of just how many homes have been lost. And I think that we're going to hear by day's end here some numbers that are going to be truly staggering, unfortunately.
This is our first real view ourselves of the area from the air, and it is staggering. I've never seen anything like it. Scott Reif, who has covered probably hundreds of these fires, has never seen anything like it. It's pretty shocking to see a whole neighborhood's gone like this.
You know, I will say Bob Iger, who is our boss here at ABC and Disney, of course, been the CEO here for a very long time, returning. But his heart is in news, as you know, and his heart is here in Southern California. And he came to World News Tonight to the scene yesterday afternoon to survey what we were seeing for himself. And one of the things he talked about, and I think this is what you hear from everyone, that if you didn't lose your home, you were able to look out from your home and see others who were in immediate danger. And so everyone felt that here in Southern California. That's one other thing I think about this particular event, because there were a multitude of fires and you could see them out every window from every neighborhood, that there was real concern for your fellow neighbor, your fellow member of this community. And I think in looking back on this, we will all remember it as having covered it, but for people like Bob and all of you who live here, who've raised your families here, to look out from your own windows and see people, you know, within eyesight who are in desperate need and wondering if they're going to have a home to go home to is something I don't think people will ever forget here.
And you've been around the world covering disasters, and this is our worst natural disaster here. Yeah,
the Palisades will go down as, if not the worst, one of the worst natural disasters ever in California. They're already saying that without even having the definitive numbers yet. And so I bet you're right, Leslie. I bet it will go down as the worst. And we have been to war zones all over the world, and I hate to compare it to a war zone, but as you're driving around, just the level of destruction, you can't help but to think, this looks a lot like what we've seen all over the world in very different circumstances, but the level of loss here. But luckily, the kind of loss we're talking about is material.
Right.
I'm not making light of that at all, because people, it's hard enough in this economy for so many people, and to lose their home and wonder how they're going to get, what the next steps are, right? Let alone how they're going to do this a year from now with whatever the situation is. But thankfully, we're talking about material loss and not human loss to a huge degree, just given the fact that we're looking at these aerials now, John, as you say, for the first time. When you look at something like that, that speaks to major, major loss of human life, and luckily we're not seeing those kinds of numbers yet. And that, in the end, would be one of the true blessings here in this. If we get through this, and we're talking about helping our neighbors rebuild, right. And as still as low a loss of life as possible.
And again, it's incredible that nobody was lost at Palisades when you look at that destruction. And there are only like 2 roads in and out of that area. Just everybody was able to get out safely. Eaton, of course, a different situation, but even there, a lot of people very lucky to get out without being harmed.
But you don't know anyone, right, here in Southern California? I have a lot of friends here, a lot of loved ones here in Southern California. It is impossible to dial up a friend or a loved one and not know someone who knows someone who's lost a home, right? Even here at ABC.
We were all talking about that this morning.
Yeah, somebody, we all know people who've lost homes, who've lost the school where they went to elementary school or where they take their kids to school, the community center, the place where they used to have their Italian dinner. You know, I just, all of these traditions, all of these cherished places will have to be rebuilt. And I think it's a little hard to focus on that right now, still in the middle of this and in the thick of it all. But I have a feeling that the people of South California are going to prove once again that they are, you know, they are as strong or stronger than most of us.
That's right. We'll be covering those stories each step of the way. World News Tonight. David Muir, thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to what you're going to report on out there today and in the days to come.
I don't know how you all look like this after having no sleep. You still look a heck of a lot better.
We can't
there's
tell
your
you our
alarm.
secrets.
We're not giving away
it's time to wake up.
That's the phone, exactly, that says I haven't slept in days.
Anyway,
thanks for having me here on the set with you guys.
David.
Really, really
Great
great
seeing
work.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube channel. And download the ABC7 Los Angeles streaming app on Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, and Roku to watch on your TV.